is. Today we have a talk that I think you will find very, very interesting, and with some real effect on your life as students. Today we have John, who is going to be talking about AI in university. So for those of you who have used AI and never got caught, well done for now. For those of you who got caught, too bad, maybe you will learn something. And for those of you who may be thinking about it but have not used it yet, maybe keep thinking. Right? So I imagine most of you know John. He is a ENG teacher for second year students at our school. Right? John has been teaching in Asia for over 30 years. With a lot of experience in teaching English, literature, composition. And as I always tell my philosophy students, if you want someone to teach you how to do citations, how to do bibliography, and how not to be accused of plagiarism, please talk to John. Okay? So without further ado, John, go ahead.
Thank you, everybody. It's great to see so many people. I was really kind of worried that maybe there wouldn't be enough room for everyone. Everyone has a seat, which is great. I knew that Javier was warning me this would be a really, well-attended presentation. It's very critical and crucial. We are really in a bit of a crisis mode, I think, as teachers right now. What do we do with AI? How do we use it? And so one of the things that comes to mind is such a big problem precisely because nobody really quite knows what AI is. And nobody really quite knows what to do with it. And until we figure that out, it's going to continue to be quite a problem. So I wanted to talk about it with you tonight. Managing AI in education, risks and conflicts, and I've got 3 sections to cover with you. First, we're going to talk about how AI is affecting learning, and it's not all positive. The second is the debate over AI, because it's new, because people don't know what to do with it. There's a lot of debate out there, and I'm going to tell you some of the views of at least one student, at least one professor who is very much opposed to it, and then one professor, or not a professor, but maybe a business leader who's in favor of it. And then I'm going to suggest one way, 2 ways that we can integrate AI into curriculum. First with a large picture, and then a more specific picture of, say, a writing course. Now, I am speaking from the perspective of a writing teacher. So, for example, a computer instructor such as Indra might have a very different idea about using AI from mine. So I want to point that out. Now, let's go ahead and start. I want you to consider a situation. I have a short video here which has been widely circulated over the internet. What is happening in this situation?
We believe you cheated, wrote the essay in ChatGPT. I mean, you were a flawless 50-page essay, but as everyone knows, you can't speak English. Please don't cry.
It's a pity this racism has such a prestigious university. Amazing for this country, so we're writing in literature.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. This is America, a country built on racism. Equality here is a mere faculty.
Well, she seems to have messed up. Every time I read that, I really do laugh. It is quite funny, but it's also rather tragic. I mean, something really is going on. It looks like the whole system is shutting down. It's happening every day in high schools and universities around the world. We have a student who has written a paper well above her expected proficiency. Her instructor is confronting her. The student defends herself by pointing out that teachers should not assume a student who does not speak well cannot write. Now the student deflects from the problem. The instructor begins to doubt his own suspicion. Her English does sound pretty good. Well, did I miss something? But we discover that the student has been using AI to generate her defense against using AI. And she can't even read it. We again doubt that the student wrote the paper. Now, what do you think? You don't have to answer right now, but think about it. Do you think this student used AI to write her paper? Now, this is only a comedy skit, but the concern is real and serious. If we don't handle AI properly, learning as we know it will shut down. Look at how her head's going down. She's shutting down, especially in the humanities. Now, you might ask, how could AI shut down learning as we know it? Isn't it supposed to help? Well, hopefully it will help. Well, it replaces human-generated content. This is a real problem. Should we allow something to replace human-generated content? These are overarching questions we have to ask. It cancels the need for students to improve their skills or language. One reason we have grades is to encourage you to improve. It cancels the need for students to search for information, to inquire. It renders writing courses, such as mine, composition, and rhetoric, entirely unnecessary. Replace it with an AI course. Well, my first encounter ever with AI was last semester, spring 2024. I teach 5 sections of academic writing at MSU. I also teach literature courses in the other department at the School of Foreign Languages. Here at MSU, I have 120 to 130 students finishing the semester. Last semester, 30 students were reported to the Academic Integrity Council. Only 3 out of 5 sections were checked completely. Think about that. I have 5 sections. I could only check 3 completely. 1 section went entirely unchecked due to lack of time. Well, this detection began with one MSU student who had submitted a paper they could not have written. Like the young lady in the video, she could not speak a word of English. After that paper, I became more aware of suspicious language. I found other papers bearing the same characteristic language. I decided to run AI detectors on all papers, to be fair. Now, this AI detection delayed grading for up to 1 month. In the end, out of 30 reported students, 10 appealed to the Academic Integrity Council. But the committee cleared only 2 out of those 10. Well, what has caused this sudden increase in AI usage? Maybe you remember, it's been exactly 2 years. It was in November 2022 when ChatGPT 3.5 burst on the scene. ChatGPT is an AI platform focused on generating verbal language. There's other AIs out there doing other things like images, video, but ChatGPT is specifically language. It is the predominant language-focused platform. It was started by a development company known as OpenAI. Now, what's really significant about this, I'll just add this, it's not on the slide, but really it's because there was this huge growth between GPT-3, which really only relied on internet text for its data, and GPT 3.5, where millions of gigabytes of data were fed into it to create this corpus, this body of language for it to use. Well, this emergency immediately affected teaching and learning, causing everyone involved to take inventory of methods and approaches, and to reevaluate traditional definitions of academic integrity, and perhaps of the entire purpose of education. Very fast. Most people think that AI is only used to generate text in one language. That's what they think it is. When you say you're using AI, they say, oh, no, I wrote the paper. I didn't have an AI generate this thing. Well, OpenAI also produces translation AIs. One is called Paraphrase. WeChat has it. Most students detected as using AI last semester did so to translate. And many said they did not know that they were using AI. Well, with this rapid increase in AI capability, is education doomed? When used inappropriately, as in to cheat or circumvent educational processes, AI will likely become harder to detect. And then, what are we going to do as teachers? With a growing culture of contempt for academic honesty, some of this may come out as sort of the equalization of education, but for the whole academic system and the ease of access to AI tools, cheating may become more widespread, overwhelming the mechanisms for protecting academic integrity. Well, as you can imagine, debates over AI are growing across academia, between teachers and learners, between teachers and their colleagues, and between learners and their peers. I'll throw something in here extra. My brother is also an instructor. He's an instructor in art and design at Georgia State University. He is in favor of AI. He is trying to push his administration to have more AI. So he's quite the opposite from me, where I'm very cautious and scared. So even at the family level, it's happening. These conflicts will only increase until all stakeholders agree on a plan, approach, and method to direct and allocate AI usage. That's what's needed. A planned, deliberate allocation of AI usage. Okay, well, how do students feel about AI? I'm going to give you a rather disturbing example this evening from last semester. The student is totally anonymous. I've taken out all possible identification. I've just kept the language the student used. But right now, many of you are probably quite scared. Maybe you're afraid that you will be flagged incorrectly for AI usage. That may be a risk that everyone faces in a future dominated by AI, where AI replaces human production. This is one of the problems we're going to have to deal with, being flagged incorrectly. In another presentation, though, if I can have that presentation, I'd like to show you why this doesn't have to be the case. It's not necessarily true that you would be flagged incorrectly. Now, some of you may feel excited by the unknown potential of AI, and maybe you would like us teachers to just back off and let you use it as you want. I mean, it is your generation, you know. But some students have been hoping that AI could relieve them of the stress of having to write, from the obligation to improve skills and develop their own thinking. You want to relieve the pressures of getting an education. And I think these are the students I want to address today. Well, in December 2022, 1 month after GPT 3.5, Atlantic Monthly published a very famous essay now, "The College Essay is Dead." There's the picture they included with it, a bunch of essays arranged in a skull. It was written by Stephen Marsh. Now, Stephen Marsh cited a student from New Zealand who explained his use of AI, actually justified it. "I have the knowledge, I have the lived experience, I'm a good student, I go to all the tutorials and I go to all the lectures, and I read everything we have to read, but I kind of felt I was being penalized because I don't write eloquently, and I didn't feel that was right." Well, Marsh then added, "They don't feel like they're cheating. Maybe they feel cheated." Well, at LNU-MSU, we are hearing the same. Here's that for the student I'm going to share with you. In one appeal to the Academic Integrity Council last semester, a student justified their use of AI for translation in much the same way as the student in New Zealand. They felt they had to in order to achieve any reasonable grade. I'm going to share with you what the student said. Again, it's anonymous, all identification taken away from it. It's just the language. "My English language proficiency is not at a level sufficient to compose a comprehensive article without significant effort and potential for error." The student wrote this very, very sincerely. Now, I want to pause here and note a couple of things before I go on. From the teacher's perspective, this student is making some very unacceptable assumptions about their education. They're admitting that they don't want to make the effort. They think the effort is unreasonable, and they wanted to avoid any error. Avoiding error. Well, the professors think, of course you must make an effort in order to learn. The more effort you make, the better. And cheating in order to avoid error cancels your opportunity to improve. In other words, error is very necessary. This student is admitting that they don't want to learn. That's the perspective we get. But the student continued. "As a result of my feelings about my language, I opted to draft my article in my native language, Chinese, and then translate it into English using a translation tool. This decision was made with the intention of ensuring the article's coherence and readability, not to circumvent academic standards. The student then attempted to claim that the use of AI to translate was not the same as the use of AI to generate content. It has come to my attention that the use of translation software can sometimes lead to misunderstandings, as it may inadvertently trigger systems designed to detect AI-generated text. The students seem to believe that translation did not involve AI. I am not alone in this experience. I have encountered several instances online where individuals have faced similar challenges due to the use of translation aids. And earlier in their appeal, again believing that translation did not involve AI, the use of translation software may have been misconstrued as AI-generated content. Now, rather than admitting that they used AI to translate, they are trying to cast the translation as mistaken for AI when it is not. What is the source of this idea that translation does not use AI? How did that distinction come about? I don't know. Is it wishful thinking? Okay, the student then admitted to another use of AI, even while trying to defend themselves from the charge. My contact with AI technology was limited to the field of information retrieval. I didn't use it directly to write my article. I turned to AI tools to assist me in understanding complex topics and to ensure the accuracy of my research. There's a possible usage there. The student then attempted to argue that their use of AI was justified because it is widespread in society. The old sort of, everybody's doing it, so it must be okay. The integration of AI in information retrieval is ubiquitous. In China, the most commonly used search engine is Baidu. When a question is entered into the search bar, the top result often includes an AI-generated intelligent response. We get the same thing on Google. This practice is widely accepted and to some extent unavoidable in our quest for accurate and timely information. Well, there's a way to handle that. You just cite the AI. Finally, the student asserted again that their objective should not be condemned. The use of translation software was a practical measure to overcome language barriers, not an attempt to deceive or plagiarize. Well, as Stephen Marsh noted, they don't feel like they're cheating. Well, the student does raise some good questions. Could AI be used to accommodate students who have poor language or other skills? This is a valid question going forward. Could other uses of AI that do not lead to direct content generation be legitimate? The student mentioned using it to improve the accuracy of research. Are teachers misunderstanding students' intentions in using AI? The students don't seem to think they're cheating. All right, but the student made some major errors. The student tried to define AI as one use only. Direct content generation. But translation also uses AI, as we pointed out. Web-based translators run on OpenAI or other implementations. WeChat translation is AI-based. The student assumes their teachers will permit translation. This is a big error. I mean, the student really thought that translation ought to be acceptable. Why not? The student wrote their paper in Chinese, then had it translated into English on a website running AI. The student didn't even think that translation would be wrong, that only it was in charge of AI that they were dealing with. The student committed 2 violations of academic honesty at the same time. The first was the translation. Even if not using AI, translation would have been against academic integrity. The course was an English writing course. The student wrote the paper in Chinese, not English. The student had the paper translated into English. They didn't translate it themselves. Yeah, the student attempted to submit the translation as if it was their English writing. That alone would have been reported to the Academic Integrity Council. Writing a paper in one's native language, having it translated by another person or computer, then trying to submit the translation as if it is your own writing is cheating. It is an attempt to avoid and circumvent the course requirements. But as Stephen Marsh noted, they don't feel like they're cheating. Another error. Okay, here's the second. Okay, translation was one. Even without the AI, translation was a violation. But an AI translated the paper. This AI generated all the English language out there. Result, the organization and ideas were human generated. They were mostly the students. But the language was 100% AI generated. Well, then, this fall, I realized, man, I have got to totally clarify and develop my policy to address these errors. So in my fall syllabus, I defined AI usage. This is what I put in my syllabus. There are at least 4 uses for AI, and any of these will lead to high AI detection rates. Number 1, content generation. This is when a student actually has an AI bot write any portion of the paper. This is what people actually consider to be AI. 2, translation. This is the most common usage among Chinese students. Maybe any other language as well. See the comment above for an explanation for why this is not acceptable. Editing and proofreading, grammar correction. This usage may lead to lower AI detection rates, but it is risky. To avoid this, you should ask a classmate or the academic center to proofread your paper. And we do have an academic center. It's on the 3rd floor, room 302, I believe. Yeah? Finance Trontos knows about that. Research and summary. There are okay, now this is something that we might be able to integrate in the future, but just not yet. Research and summary. There are sites and applications offering to provide research and lead you to sources, reducing your time in research. This usage may provide a legitimate research tool, rather like an advanced search engine. However, be aware that it may also lead to some AI detection, particularly if the student copies the output from an AI, such as notes or summaries, directly into his or her paper. Some services offer to provide summaries of articles. And note that in my course, English 210, you are required to write an article summary. Use of any AI output will constitute plagiarism and will be penalized accordingly. Now, this student's errors do remind me of something.
Attention group on racism, equality here is familiar.
Using AI to generate a defense against AI. This approach should not help us. Which one? Oh, facade, okay. But she couldn't read it, she couldn't, which meant obviously she did not know the word, you know? Yeah. This is one of our tests for detecting AI. Can the student talk about the vocabulary and use it? We'll talk about that in the next presentation. Yeah, this approach did not help the student at all, right? Okay, well, let's move on to the next two. So we talked about students and their view, and my attempt right now to address it. Let's talk about faculty. How is AI viewed in the humanities? One Dr. James Stacy Taylor, a professor of philosophy in Javier School at the College of New Jersey, in July 2024, he published this admonishment of AI usage in Times Higher Education. It's called Why I Ban AI Use for Writing Assignments. And the tagline here, the kicker reads, students may see handwriting essays in class as a needlessly time-consuming approach to assignments, but I want them to learn how to engage with arguments, develop their own views, and convey them effectively. Now, what's interesting about Dr. Taylor is that at first he was quite excited by the potential of AI. He said, I used to allow students to use artificial intelligence to help them write their papers. I spent a lot of class time explaining how AI works, how they can use it to help them write if they wish, and how I expect them to document its use if they draw. I did this because students are likely going to have to know how to use it, and so we should help them understand how to do so effectively and ethically. But he changed his mind. I now think that allowing AI use for student writing assignments is a mistake, at least in lower level classes. It doesn't help students learn what I want them to learn through writing papers for the class. So I have banned its use. Those he mentions especially in lower level classes. It's kind of like my brother who favors AI. He pointed out he's an art teacher, or a design teacher. He said, yeah, actually all of my students still have to know how to draw with a pencil before they can use AI. The ban is simple. Students are not allowed to use AI in writing their papers. They cannot use it to generate ideas, to improve their writing, or obviously to write their papers. And he goes on. Just as the ban is simple, so is the reason for it. I want students to learn how to engage with arguments. Now here's where he goes into what he expects his students to do in their thinking, and he does not think AI will help. To do this, they need to read and understand the author's conclusion. They need to understand the author's arguments for that view. They need to think about whether the premises of those arguments support the conclusion, and if they do not, whether they could be modified to do so, or whether the argument needs to be abandoned. Actually, I want my students to learn to do this too. With more time, I'd be able to teach them to more thoroughly evaluate their sources and information. If the premises do support the conclusion, they need to think about whether they also support a counterintuitive conclusion. That is the other side. And if so, whether this shows that some of the premises should be rejected. I mentioned these things in my own classes, but it takes some time and skill to develop. He goes on. Now, could students use AI to do some of this? Sure, they could. For example, ask AI to outline the philosopher Peter Singer's argument, The Famine Relief. AI does a nice job of this, but if students use AI in this way, they won't develop the skill of working out what the author is arguing for and how they do that. I don't want students to be able to read a digested summary of a paper. I want them to develop the skill to produce such a summary themselves, identifying the main points of an argument and working out how they support it. Now, could they use AI to generate objections to the arguments they read? Dr. Taillefer asks. Well, of course. AI does a good job of summarizing objections to Singer's view, but I don't want students to parrot others' objections. I want them to think of objections themselves. Could AI be useful for them in organizing their exegesis of others' views and their criticisms of them? Yes. But again, part of what I want my students to learn is precisely what this outsources to the AI, how to organize their thoughts and communicate them effectively. All right, well, Dr. Taillefer is quite clear that he changed. Maybe he'll change again someday once things get better with AI. We have a business leader. To take a viewpoint of someone who's not working in education, but who is concerned about what students are learning and how they will make their way into the economy. Countering Dr. Taillefer, one business leader in Boston, Ed Gaskin, wrote an op-ed in the Boston Herald just last month. Mr. Gaskin says, there is a current effort in education to instruct teachers in how to catch students using AI to write their papers. This is the wrong direction. Discouraging students from using AI in their writing process is like insisting they use a manual typewriter to ensure they don't use spell check and learn how to use a physical dictionary to look up words. I actually preferred if my students just use old-fashioned English. I really would. Teachers should encourage the use of AI, raising the standards for what constitutes good writing. Grammar and mechanics, which can be perfected with AI, I hope, should no longer be the primary grading focus. Instead, assessment should emphasize abstract qualities such as the student's voice, tone, curiosity, and creativity. Okay, scrap the grammar, all right. Teachers can place more emphasis on the originality of ideas, the authenticity of voice, and the depth of analysis. I don't know if Mr. Gaskin's ever been a teacher. Maybe he has. Avoiding AI in the classroom is neither realistic nor productive in an era where it is an integral part of many industries. Equipping students to use AI effectively and ethically prepares them for real-world applications. Employers increasingly value tech-savvy employees who understand how to leverage tools like AI in productive ways. Good point. Educators who encourage responsible AI use can help students become valuable contributors in future workplaces, whereas those who neglect these tools risk leaving students unprepared in a technology-driven job market. Well, these are good points. We have to deal with them. Okay, so how do we address these disagreements about AI? We have the students, in their view, they're feeling like it'll give them some relief from the burden of what they have to do. We have humanities teachers like me and Javier and others, language teachers, who are scared about it. We're not sure how we can integrate it into our courses, if at all, because we need human-generated content. And then we have business leaders who are trying to think about how they can bring the young graduates into the economy. How do we address these things? Well, there is a place for AI in education. I just want to make that clear. One current trend in education is categorizing courses according to AI usage. Under this approach, educators ask, how appropriate will AI usage be in a given class? Here's what such a classification of courses might look like. In the following table, I've adapted the guidelines published by the University College of London on its website. This is my adaptation of it. We have three categories at the moment for courses. On the far left, we have courses requiring some AI. And the UCL website puts it as Gen AI has an integral role in the course. Then in the middle, we have courses permitting some AI. Gen AI tools can be used in an assisted role. Over here on the far right, courses forbidding all AI. The purpose and format of assessments makes it inappropriate or impractical for Gen AI tools to be used. Now let's go back and look again. What kinds of courses generally might fall under each category? Well, computer information sciences, such as English. That would be a course requiring some AI, if you have a unit on working with AI. Design and engineering courses, like my brother teaches graphic design. This is where AI-generated components may be incorporated into wholes, mixed with student input. Courses permitting some AI. These might be courses where AI may speed research or searches for data. I think the courses here mostly could use some AI. Law, mathematics, natural sciences, accounting, statistics. AI could really help in these courses if used appropriately. And courses emphasizing ideas and content, but not necessarily language usage. This is what I think Ed Gaskin is referring to. And courses forbidding all AI. Okay, courses requiring only human-generated content and language, or where only human-generated content and language can be assessed. This would include most language and writing courses. All right, faculty, raise your hands. Let's get a poll here. I'm going to ask you some questions. We have a number of faculty in the front. Let's see, this we get. Who among you currently requires students to use AI at some point? Anybody? I thought so. Not surprising. Also, probably not surprising. 2. Who allows students to use AI for some assignments? Okay, good. Okay. That's sort of an overlap. If you require, they'll also allow. Who prohibits students from using AI in all assignments? Wow, okay. Oh, wow, okay. Very good. All right. All right, I don't know if you have enough faculty at this point, but who hasn't yet decided how students should use AI? Anybody from the faculty? Okay. It is, and actually, yeah, I think that may be the case for all of us. All of us are wondering, All right. Well, let me just give a little PSA here, public service announcement. I just want to point out that MSU does maintain a robust set of AI policies. I took these from the UCL in London, but we do have one also. I hope to discuss some of these policies in another presentation, if I can do it, when I focus on AI detection. For this presentation, though, I think the University College of London's freeway categorization of AI usage provides a valid suggestion for how to plan our curriculum while taking AI into consideration. Back to our regularly scheduled program. Where do I put myself in these categories? Well, mostly I put myself here. Mostly. But I'm changing that. I'm moving toward the center. In my class, I do currently permit one usage of AI, MLA citation generators. Now, you may not think that this is AI. It's too simple. No. You take the title of an article, you put it into a little search field, you press a button, it finds the article. There it is. It gives you a list of all the possible occurrences of this article on the internet. You choose the version that is best for your paper, the one you're using, the one you found. Then you click again. You select what format you want your citation, your bibliographical entry formatted in. APA, MLA, CSE, Chicago to Radian. What do you want? You select it, click again. Wait 30 seconds, 10, 15 seconds. You've got a fully formatted, hour at a time, huh? Oh dear, okay, let's rush along. All right, we're getting close, Now, Purdue OWL MLA page or citation machine, good examples. All right, now, I am adding another use starting this semester. I told my classes about it today. I thought they should know before I presented it. And here it is. On their final pages, my students will now be able to choose whether they want to use AI to correct their grammar or vocabulary. This is very experimental. I'm going to try it this semester. If I have too many problems, I won't again. The rules will be strict. First, students can choose between two options. Turn in only a paper that has been written naturally with no AI correction. Or turn in that paper plus an AI corrected version. This is so that the students will actually write their own papers in English. But if they're not happy with their English, they can use AI correction. Now, to do this, students will have to turn in 3 files. They'll turn in one file for the paper that is not AI corrected. They'll turn a second file for the paper that is AI corrected. Now, if they want the natural uncorrected version graded, they can state that. I wish to have my uncorrected version graded. I have turned off the internet while writing this paper, and I have not passed the paper through any online correction websites or applications. It's kind of like a pledge. Just copy and paste it into this third file. Or, if they want the AI corrected version graded, they would state the following. I wish to have my AI corrected version graded. I've passed my paper through online websites and applications to improve my grammar and vocabulary. I did not use AI for translation. You pledged me. I am including a list of the websites and applications I use. Now here is the caveat. I understand that my use of AI will result in a letter grade off of my final. My use of AI will result in a letter grade off of my final grade. Isn't that unfair? No. We've got to balance it out, you see? It's got to be balanced. We cannot suddenly award people who are using AI. We want to actually incentivize their natural language, de-incentivize the use of AI. But if you really feel you need AI, okay, we won't fail you for it. This rule should help those who worry that their grammar and vocabulary are too poor to receive a reasonable grade, while also ensuring that human-generated writing is preferred. I am including a list of the websites and applications I use. This rule will allow me to discover where they are finding their AI and what those AIs are doing. I did not use AI for translation, of course. Possible effects of this policy. There are a few. I hope It should eliminate the student's felt need to use translation. Write it in English, and then you're allowed to use AI to correct it. It should offer a way to use assistive AI in a course requiring human-generated content. That's the middle, you know, this column over here, right? And Ed Gaskin's talking about that. It should make it clear that human-generated content is still preferred. It should reduce the need to use AI detectors to catch cheaters. Not sure about that one. It should provide a choice between their own natural writing and AI-refined writing, a choice. And it should make it clear that the use of AI may not improve grades. Using AI, it's impossible. You cannot grade AI. There are some possible problems. It might lead some students to believe that because this use of AI is being permitted, other uses may be permitted as well. It may lead thus to inappropriate attempts to negotiate further uses of AI. It might create a logical conundrum for students who may continue to want AI only to improve their grades, not their writing. And it might lead to further need for AI detection to catch anyone trying to pass off an AI-generated paper as their own. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, let's see, what's next? Oh yes, I wanted to focus on this one then. The courses forbidding all AI. A little bit more about that. The University College of London defines such a class. The use of Gen AI is wholly inappropriate for the delivery of the specific learning activities or skills to be assessed, including, for example, demonstrating foundation-level skills such as remembering, understanding, independently developing critical thinking skills, and applying knowledge. This is what Dr. Taylor in New Jersey is concerned about. Such assessments are likely to be designed to support the development of knowledge and skills that students will require in order to be able to study successfully and effectively. We're dealing with what it takes to be a successful student going forward. I want students to keep that in mind, including with the use of Gen AI tools in other contexts and in future assessments. That last sentence is really interesting. Two things to note about UCL's definition. It concedes that there will be use of Gen AI tools in other contexts and in future assessments. That means you might be prohibiting it in one class, but not in the others. We're not blocking AI. And in future assessments. This seems to imply 5 minutes. This seems to imply that we might be able to incorporate AI in future assessments, just not here and now. But it presents one more difficult guideline. The Category 1 assessment must be secure, and it must be possible to verify that the student did not use Gen AI tools. An assessment which does not meet these conditions should not be classed as Category 1. Scary for a teacher. It must be possible to verify that the student did not use Gen AI tools. How do we do that? It's going to get harder. You'd think we can do it right now, but I don't know how much longer it's going to last. So how do we verify that a student learned? Well, one thing you can do, and I'm going to start next semester, is have students write a diagnostic or placement essay on an impromptu topic at the start of the semester. In class, no internet permitted. So you gather a sample of their writing in the natural state. This could be as short as 1 paragraph, as long as 5 paragraphs. I'm going to make mine 4. Students do not need to receive feedback for this exercise. Instructors only keep it for reference when graded assessments are due. This essay will provide evidence of a student's proficiency if AI usage is suspected. The essay should also feed, of course, into the material and processes of the semester. The point is to get that sample of writing that you can then refer to when their papers are due. All right, there's another one. Use those dreaded detectors. That's what I want to deal with next time. I think another presentation is needed for this. And I also want to invite other professors to give presentations, to address these issues in their own classes. Okay, I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening.
Do we have any questions or comments? Please raise your hands.
I just want to comment on things.
Sure.
One thing that we need to be careful is that even all the Microsoft Office suites now have AI. So if you want to go purely without AI, you have to do handwritten.
Yeah, handwritten.
Because even like the tools that you say about typeface in MLA, Chicago, it's all automatically available.
Yeah, also. Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. Yeah, and maybe that's another reason why we need to have some incorporation of the option of using AI, because it's going to be everywhere.
And the other comments, I think the technology, when I look at your presentation, I think somewhat there might be a chance, or somebody been working on the use of technology specifically for education. Right, there might be hopefully Microsoft working on the Microsoft Office version that tailored to writing. There might, if there's a market, there should be a...
Is that in process now? Is it being developed?
I don't know, but I think there might be some.
There should be.
There should be.
You
There will be.
There will be.
Yeah.
There has to be. Yeah.
Well, I do have a comment to make, which is, I found it hilarious. The appeal of the students from last semester. I am 200% sure that that appeal was written using AI.
Exactly.
I had a comment in there from mine, but I didn't want to use it because I didn't ask him permission. So I took it out. But he wrote an email comment on that. I'm going to be dealing with that. If I can do a presentation on detection, I'm going to do it with that. Because I'm going to be addressing issues that people are skeptical of detection. They don't think it's valid, they don't think the detectors work, and they think it's biased against them. And I'm going to try to dispel that. Wow, the clamor.
No, but that's a funny one, right? Sometimes students do not think that we can notice the difference between an AI-generated text and their own writing.
I know, they
So
think we can't notice.
I'm going to ask the rest of faculty, how many of you think that appeal was written using AI?
And they thought it was right to do so. And they thought, well, I can't write this myself in English, so I've got to use AI.
Yeah, so is there a way to check if a student has written language in their own language or using AI by just, like you talk to a student and you ask the student, can you, in a few short sentences, tell me what you wrote?
Yeah.
Because the student who used AI will not.
Exactly.
Like the girl
Exactly.
could not even spell those massage.
Well, but I asked that question before, and the answer is like, oh, that was written 2 weeks ago, so I forgot about it.
Right. Well, there's that, and that's not an answer to the question.
No, but that's not even a valid answer. If their paper is so fantastically well written and so rich in content and vocabulary, you would imagine that they spend a significant amount of time preparing it. So they must remember the pain of writing that paper, I would say.
And not only that, but I mean, writers have to make choices. You only make a choice based on what you know, what's available to you. So if you're not able to describe your writing process, or why you chose a word or a structure, you didn't write it. Good points for teachers, for students to hear. So frankly, other questions? How about questions from students? Yes.
Yeah, students, questions about AI?
They have some.
Yeah, I have many questions, but like, I don't know whether you will be able to find it related or not. Somehow I feel that is AI diverting our focus from the change in education system. we are discussing about whether we should use AI or not. Somehow I feel that this kind of discussion is diverting our focus from the change we should have in the education system.
It is an argument between preserving or progressing, moving forward, moving out.
No, I'm just like maybe revolutionizing the education system as a whole.
Yeah, right.
Rather than not to talk about AI, whether we should use it or not, we should focus on revolutionizing the whole education system.
No, yeah, of course. And the way we learn is also going to, I think, change the way we think. And that's a big problem too. And this is the big philosophical question that we're asking about AI, is how is it going to change our whole way of taking in and processing and using knowledge and information? Everything is on the crux of changing.
And one very little bit futuristic question. What do you think, like, could AI become as a tool for students to rebel against the education system and the faculty members?
I think that's what they're doing. I think right now, that's the state it's in. It's rather anarchic. It's rather chaotic. It's not being controlled. You know? And that's why we're talking about allocating AI usage. Certain courses, yes. Some courses, no. Yeah. And so we've got to simply have a way of saying when AI is appropriate and be clear about it. And we're not.
But to be honest, I mean, that's a dangerous question because, you know, one of the things about any system, even though it's an AI, it's controlled by something. It's controlled by the source. It's controlled by the country sometimes. So, you know, the traditional education is, we always see ourselves as we're an innovator. We're challenging the status quo. But with AI, it's even more dangerous for us because, you know, everybody's getting the source of information from the same source, and everybody will think that what AI is saying is the truth, and then that's to believe into.
Oh, sure, it's like any other media. Yeah, it's any other media. Yeah. Who's providing the information? Who's actually programming the AIs and getting them set up to deal with this? Yeah.
Going off of what you were just talking about, I had the exact same thought while you were speaking, that each individual AI usage, individual companies, whoever owns that company, feeds the information that they want to into that AI.
Yes.
Therefore, just like he was talking about, eventually everyone's going to get the information from the exact same sources, and there's never going to be anything besides what they deem is important. Because what if there are two people who have opposing views, and the company only likes one, and then they only put the information or the sources or the opinions of one person, and everyone uses that, and no one hears the other side. Because that's all AI is.
Yeah.
AI is literally just information that has been fed into a system that analyzes it and shoots out answers, but it's not the end-all be-all. And that's what's being replaced in the human part, is that instead of us seeking other sources ourselves based on what we think and what we want to know, we are depending on people who have put in their own ideas, and then we're just buying into whatever they say without ever having our own independent critical thinking.
Yeah, basically, yeah, so critical thinking will have to continue to be taught. That's the only solution for that.
I was going to say that this is reminding me, sometimes students will not know about this, this reminds me of the debates about Wikipedia, about 15 years ago.
I love Wikipedia.
Now, for a couple of reasons. One, because it seems like in the future, from what you and Ika were saying, it seems that in the future AI could become even less reliable than Wikipedia. Because a algorithm, the code, the owner of whatever AI engine is being used is very obscure. In Wikipedia, you should know that anyone can edit the articles and that there are moderators and that different viewpoints will be accounted for.
Yeah.
Right? But by the same token, years ago, right, there was this frenzy of students copying and pasting from Wikipedia directly to write their papers.
Right.
No, but mind you, it doesn't mean that Wikipedia has no use in university or that it's dangerous per se. Wikipedia can be very useful. Insofar as if you're approaching a topic for the first time, you can use Wikipedia as a map that can send you in the right direction, the right sources.
A kickstart.
Right? Exactly. By the same token, I think that AI could be used in courses even like philosophy, but I would only allow it, for example, for master's students.
Yeah.
Or PhD students, students who already know what they're doing, students who already have basic skills, and then maybe they could use AI to organize sources or to write a tentative structure for their paper and then work over what the AI has produced for them. But that's certainly something that I would never allow for freshmen, sophomores, juniors, or seniors.
It's like Dr. Taylor said.
But this is what's happening now. A lot of GPTs, ChatGPT is one of them, but there's quite a bit of other AI, Gen AI tools.
Yeah.
And some of them are designed specifically for specific students. This is where I think we need to, this is a field that we need to have somebody dedicated to it and decide, for example, for which class, Brandon teaching history, right? There should be a history, well, it's going to replace Brandon, history focused AI.
Yeah.
That for teaching, for example.
Right, okay, yeah.
I mean, I think it's a great tool, but the problem is that the danger is to replace thinking. How do you think? Critical thinking. I think a lot of people will lose that ability to learn how to think and how to reason. And it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of lessons. That's what should be a concern. If people are inherently lazy, they'll just go in and, hey, I can just get some information up, but not like you said here, not be critical, be critical of the information. That's like what Diana is just going to take the information, but we need to have to develop those skills to learn how to learn, how to think, and that's what we are aiming for society in the future. We abuse.
Yeah, well, mathematics used to have the scientific calculator.
That's right. You can't use graphing calculator. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I can put in like a matrices for my math students, and you can just put it into Wolfram Alpha, and it can show you exactly how to do a row reducing. But that is a great tool if you know how to do it to get an answer. But if you just rely on that without knowing how to do it, that's
Yeah, what about students? Any students have any comments? What about, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I have a lot of questions about the teaching process of the teaching.
Sure.
Like you mentioned, if you want actually totally avoid the usage of AI, you're right. You can just start a class, a session that allows students to write on papers or pens. And I think that's the only way that you can avoid this really
The old, mid-20th century.
Yeah, because like that teaches that some students may use AI as like you said, the
Kickstart.
the kickstart.
Like Wikipedia.
But I have a very different opinion about that because I tried to use that as a kickstart. And once I used AI, my opinion was completely influenced by it. Because one time when I was searching for the meaning, like symbolism, things about a literature work called A Very Old Man with Enormous Wings. And I use AI. And it said a lot of things that completely different from my own opinion. And according to its influence, I got changed. My mind was changed, and my priorities, like my former ideas, are completely different.
What did you get in that?
It's influencing our ideas.
I would be interested in seeing how your original thought compared with the output you got from the AI. I'd like to see that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd like to see how that process influenced you sometime. Thank you. Anybody else?
Opinions?
No, nothing else, really? Are they all just, go ahead, Carl.
It sort of reminds me of John Henry.
Okay, yeah.
And I think, you know, right now we happen to be at a place where it is to some extent acceptable. I don't know how long that is going to be the case. We may have these things built right into our mind at some point. And then, what do we do when everyone, in effect, is themselves part AI, who basically going upside with it, you know? So if I'm looking into the sci-fi novel future of this, I see we're gonna ever more have to deal with those questions. And I think like PK said a little while ago, we're either going to have to redesign education itself, or maybe, I don't ever think education is going to go away, but it's time looking like it has always traditionally looked, I think I don't know how long it will be. My guess would be about 20 years from now. And there have already been a lot of people thinking about like de-schooling movements. Sure. Obviously, I see it over there.
Paulo Freire may be right. Well, he doesn't know about AI, but he may assist in that process. Yeah. No other students, though? I mean, I'm surprised that, go ahead.
So I think I'm the only one who is the current master student here. So for me, when I was in the bachelor, when I was in undergrad at university, I feel like the major was like information technology, and I feel like Charlie is very helpful for the STEM research, like computer science and mathematics. And for now, my major is global health, and this is more like a research on computer. And I feel like ChatGPT is less powerful than before. And also for my master thesis, you can use ChatGPT as you want, but you need to do the clarification. And for me, as the current graduate student, and I feel like when I use AI, especially like when I use the citation part, is very powerful and very helpful for us to managing the citation. And then even when I do when I write academic paper, I want to find more reference, I can just grab the questions to ChatGPT and I said, hey, can you tell me any paper about, HIV, AIDS, something like that? And then they will give me a very perfect question. And then I just walked with the university library and found that resource and then citation it. And I think it's very useful. And yeah, that's how I want to say. And so for me as a student and for my experience, I think when you study for like academic English, when you want to write something, and you feel like this process can help you to study English better, then just don't use AI. And if you like, I want to organize something, I want to find more citation, then you can use ChatGPT based on your own decision. And also, my academic professor, he said our university don't have the money to pay the eternity or like zero ChatGPT, so you can use ChatGPT as you want. Yeah.
By the way, running AI detectors is
Yeah, and also
I've been paying 1,000 for this.
the only way to find AI is by using AI.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think human can detect AI by just by your
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you have two contrasting possibilities. You said if you're a literature or humanities major
Yeah.
and you want to improve your language, AI is not going to help.
Yeah.
But if you are looking at specific functions or tasks, like finding sources, making citations,
Yeah, and also like we need like a storm for like making the presentation. I give you like blueprint for the presentation. And wow, that is so
That's
awesome.
useful.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Great.
okay, good points.
Any more questions?
From students, I really would like to hear from students how they feel about this thing.
Students on Thanksgiving.
Do.
Oh, we have one with Felix.
Okay. By the way, these are my literature students. They're from the School of Foreign Languages. Go ahead, Guy.
We are required to write an essay about analyze the points, but during write the essay, I must use the sentences from the context. But this essay involves a question. This will, if I put my whole essay into the AI detector, the detector will tell me I maybe use the AI.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you do about that?
Because the essay contains many sentences from the context, but the AI detector maybe not recognize. And the first question, we are very clear.
Yeah, of getting detected wrong, incorrectly, false positives from the AI detector. Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, there are famous cases, and I'll do this in my next presentation if I can do it. And basically, there's a famous case of the the preamble of the U.S. Constitution being given a 100% AI detection. You know, but then if you took that same preamble from the U.S. Constitution and put it through 10 detectors, that one would be the only one. So that was an error. So you run several. And also, like my own papers, you know, I put in an article I wrote recently, I get a 30% AI detection. But all the other detectors, 0 to, 1, 5%. So that is a problem. Yeah, so I wouldn't worry too much, you know. I mean, and again, responsible use of AI detection will be the professors that, well, you got one erroneous here, but all the other detectors are clearing the student, so you let them go. Maybe give them a warning.
But to be, but if you think that you do not use AI, again, like we talked about earlier, you can defend on that error. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, preamble, you can talk to your teachers and
Yeah, we have the famous case of the preamble of the Constitution.
right. I mean, if the teacher should know and also have opinion about it. They know.
They would know. They would know. Yeah. The teacher will know. So I will talk about my detection process and the pros and cons of it in another talk. Yeah. It's a very scary thing.
Excellent. In that case, well, thank you, John, and thank you, everyone else.